still. But when I tried, I was like, okay, how do I do CSS again?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I remember how to do CSS now. How do I implement Flexbox?
Yeah, like if you don't keep up the grease, if you don't keep like churning at it, then it's gonna be. It's just difficult, It's like it is something that just you have to kind of like get it ingrained with you, and you can only do that through doing this over and over again. And like I'm telling you, like once you've done this, 10 times, once you've laid things in the flex 10 times, then it's just like whatever. But you gotta do that. You gotta do it 10 times, and then you end up doing it 20 times and 30 times, and then you're like, you start running into different types of issues, right? You go into the next step because like learning the basics of CSS is fine, but then you have to get into how to organize CSS. So when let's say you're working on a file that has 3,000 classes, and then
Mm.
that's a whole other layer that you add on top once you get good at the basics. And there's also like when you're debugging CSS and it's like you're getting I don't know, you're getting content from a database and rendering classes dynamically onto the page, and then you don't know how to track exactly the class that's being applied because you can't find it. It can get complex because but the basics is what we're going over right now, and what I want you to get comfortable with. But that's only going to come through doing this stuff over and over.
Yeah, because I realized that my brain just like registers at all right when I'm trying to do something, my brain just comes up with more questions than it needs to even worry about. In a sense, like
Uh-huh.
even though I know like okay for my semantics, I don't have to focus on that. If I'm really like just building like a very simple website where it doesn't really need a navigation bar, where I'm just trying to slap an image onto the center and that's it, probably. But my brain will register 37 questions of things that could be there, and then it would lose track of everything and then just throw itself into chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't stress enough how you're gonna have to put in like just do things. Just doing things helps. So you're gonna have to make things, and that's good that you already said, Draco, that that you have kind of like this goal for yourself to set something up. I'm gonna give you. We're gonna go over this page today. Okay, this is called Hacker News. This is where a lot of people in web development, or a lot of people in computer science generally, like yeah, developers and stuff. You get a lot of people doing this, going to this website to get their news. It looks old school. It is old school, but it works. And it's kind of like cool because Y Combinator, they helped fund startups like Airbnb and Uber and stuff, but this is what their news website looks like. So it's kind of funny, right? So we're gonna make a new hacker news.html file. Okay. So you're here. Okay. So let's. I'll send you this URL. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about this on the big picture. Let's we do this. Let me copy this. So let's talk about this. What do you see here? Think about it in terms of like if you are CSS, you gotta think about like deconstructing websites that you see, um, in terms of containers, right? Like that's basically what CSS does. It's putting stuff on the web in boxes. You know?
Hmm?
Okay, so you are seeing what I'm showing, right? In the
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Discord.
Okay. Yeah. So we have a box here, right? That's the main document, right? That's the browser window. That's the entire thing, right? This red right here. Yeah. Then we have another box here, right? And this box actually goes further down. Let's put this a different color. Let's do purple here. Okay. Then we got another box here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, how do you think that this is broken down? Like the rest of the stuff? Like
I
this big
personally
thing.
believe. I mean, I believe that I have a theory that it could be done.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
news.ycombinator.com.
okay. So I want to say that it could be done by making a list mainly.
Mm-hmm.
That's like one of the ways a ordered list. Because I don't know any other ways to really add the numbers there unless use I guess was but that's the main way right there, like a list to me.
Yeah.
But per se for the header portion, I would feel like it would be done, still semantically, with like H1 as in Hacker News or well, with the logo and then the nav bar right next to it. So, uh, I mean, but that's how it looks straightforward to me. Like, semantically for the top, like header one, nav bar, and then the rest is just a list in a sense, and then the footer per se.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, so do you think you could crank this site out relatively quickly?
I think so. Maybe not with the 730 points portions underneath it. It would probably the actual titles, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let's this is correct. Let's get started with a general thing. Okay. Here in the body, how do we do this? Yeah? How do you want to do it?
I guess we work on the header and the logo portion first, like the header nav bar. I mean,
Okay.
that seems like it'd be the hardest thing for me to really knock out the way.
Okay.
Well, besides footer, I guess.
There's no. Oh yeah, there's a footer. Oh cool. All right. All right. So get going. I'm here. So yeah, you start writing.
It's been a hot minute since I had to get the brain going for this one. Actually,
Yeah, and we're not worrying about CSS yet.
we'll get to that bridge when we.
Uh-huh. It's just they're all links. It seems. Oh geez, they use tables. This is.
Oh, see, that's
We're
one thing
not
I
gonna we're not gonna
want to
go
learn.
into tables.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't want to learn. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Uh-huh.
I know I shouldn't be picky, but tables just seem like it's a longer typed way when there's probably a shorter way to do it. That's just like how it seems to me. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
it's tables are useful when you're displaying table information. If you're displaying
Yeah,
like data, then you should use tables actually, like because
yeah,
the same thing. Screen readers,
mm,
they kind of know how to. They understand what a table is, and they tell you is like this heading and this column and this is the data point. That's why you would use tables. But if for things that are not actually data tables, you don't need to use tables. You shouldn't use tables actually because it'll be confusing. If a screen reader, if a blind person is actually trying to read this, it's the screen reader is going to tell them like heading Hacker News first cell. Instead of telling you like this is a list with 30 items. So yeah. Anyway, you don't want to use tables unless you are displaying
going for
data
that
in a
neat like that.
table format. Cool, 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 cool. All right. So you have the header opening and closing there. I would put it here maybe. Okay. Perfect. All right, save it up. Let's see. Bam. Okay. So this is how this is turning out now. Bam. Do you see it?
Yep.
Cool. So we have the bones. There's a little more things, but like we'll add that later. All right, let's get into CSS. Yeah. Okay, so I want you to think. Remember that we were going over last time how HTML thinks, how HTML looks at a page. Can you see this? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so
Yes.
basically, right, like you have a header, you have a HTML element, and then, you know, if you look at it here, right, you have like element one, this nav with a UL with a list. And if you look at this and then compare it to this, it's the same thing, It's the same structure. Like it's basically like, this is above this, which is above this, which is above this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you try to look at the, like HTML does, you see that actually it expands it all the way to the edge here, right? And then it just stacks things one above the other, right? That's what HTML was like trying to do. It's a markup language for linked documents. So you do this, and it kind of just, right. This is a reflection of this. Yeah, and I know this is kind of obvious in some sense, right? But it's like that's at the core of what we're doing when we're doing web development, right? It's like we're getting a document that wants to be like basically a list of nodes that are stacked one on top of another, right? This guy is stacked on top of this guy that's stacked on top. This is this. It wants to it wants to display like that. So with CSS, you're like, okay, I don't want it to display like that. I want to be in control. But this is what you're fighting against. This is the natural tendency that you're fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. And it's funny, actually, if you get into how HTML is rendered, you see that this actually has, if you go to like a button, right? It's not a coincidence that a button looks like that. Someone programmed this button to look like that. And in this case, I'm using Brave, which is built on Chromium. So it means that the people that made Google Chrome decided that this is how buttons are going to look like by default in Google Chrome. So we want to change that stuff. So okay, so let's get to it. So like tell me in big strokes how you would go about changing the title, making this look more like this.
Firstly, I guess the only apparent thing to me that I would tackle first is the CSS for the header
Okay.
minus the logo. That's we just yoinked the logo as well.
Yeah, the logo. Don't worry about it too much right now. So how do you do it? Okay, you're already on it.
Sorry,
Proactive. I like it.
brain was like actually running, so I was like, okay. I mean, I don't know. Is this the same? Would it be down here?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
What is?
open up. I did not. I want to try something. I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to try something.
Okay. 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 All right. Save. No. Like, let's not get carried away. Let's do one thing at a time. Okay, save. All right. Now let's see. Let's see how our Hacker News clone is looking. Bam! Look at that. It's already better. Okay, can you tell me what is going on here? Describe to me what happened. In not in technical terms or anything, just like literally tell me what happened on the page. How is this different than it was before?
I mean, everything is now the whole nav bar, like our extra buttons are now to the right of Hacker News, like the header to priority in that
Uh-huh.
left side space.
Right. And if you like actually do this thing to select the HTML element that I'm doing right here, you see that it basically split, right? It basically took it from like from being Hacker News above the list. Now Hacker News is to the left of the list, right?
Hmm.
Cool. I mean, and that's excellent. You know, that's so good. All right. So now, so now, what do you want to do?
All right. That didn't work either. Uh, all right.
Yeah. So that's the default setting. So you don't actually have to put it, but it's fine to put it.
I want to see if it would do anything. Uh,
What are you trying to achieve right now?
right now, I just wanted to see what this does more so for
Okay.
this, like
Okay.
two different lines from left to right.
All
Well,
right.
yeah, left to right in a row sense.
Let's do it. Okay. Save it. It didn't do much. So when you put flex, the initial parameters are this line items. I think it's also flex start. Yeah, and then line and flex row. Okay, so like actually these three things are applied automatically when you put display flex. That's why they're not doing anything. If you want it to not be, so you can just take it off, right? And save, and it's the exact same thing here. You know what I'm saying? If you want it to be to behave different, you'd have to select different.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, but like, what do you want to achieve next? What is your next goal?
Uh, to have them all horizontal,
What all?
like our nav bar. So Hacker News, which is
Okay.
our title, our logo if we had it, and then the new uh past comments, ask, show, job, submit, like all of them horizontal from each
Okay.
other.
So let me ask you this. You already know how to put something horizontal, right? Like this used to be on top, right? This Hacker News thing used to be on
Hmm.
top. But then you put so now you put it side by side. So you want to keep putting things side by side. You already know how to do it. So basically, you just have to do the same thing again. Can you try that? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
I'm a little lost because my brain instantly seen it as type display flex repeatedly, but I know that's not the justification for it,
No, no,
behind it.
it's fine as long as you know as long as you're doing it intentionally, right? So so look, so you went to this. Okay, so the left side, right? No, this is wrong. Okay,
Oh yeah, it's the wrong.
I was like, what? Okay, so first of all, what that? All right, so look at what's going on here, right? So you have this of class nav, and remember how we went over um, how HTML looks at things again. Like that's why I keep drilling it because it's so important. You got to think like HTML thinks, you know. So here you have here HTML like seeing this class of nav has two elements inside of it. You might think that it
Mhm.
has, whatever, 12 elements inside of it, or however many, six or whatever. But actually, it only has two elements that are nested inside of it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm. So what if? So okay, would it be a different outcome to change them by like separate? Like, all right. So if I had them separate, like HTML read them as separate things, not all two items under one specific, like.
Mm-hmm.
I got a word about it.
Yeah. So let's say if you were to do this. Right. So ignore the fact that you shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? But like, see how now you have under this nav class, now you have a bunch of items.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, what do you think would happen if you press save right now?
Oh, the list wouldn't work because OL is not there
No,
anymore.
ignore that part. Let's say these were
Oh,
all divs.
uh, so
Yeah.
if they were all divs, I think they would. If they were elements wrapped in divs, then I think they would all be lined up next to each other. Because
Okay.
if they were just treated like, hmm?
No, go ahead. Finish up.
Oh, I was gonna say like if they were like treated like normal p tags at this point, then they would all line up next to each other.
Okay, so let's try it out. Your hypothesis is correct. It should be. Okay. Bam, look at that. So you're right. However, this is what we had, right? What we had was this. Yeah. We had two elements lined up side by side to each other because this is display flex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we only had two elements. So now if we save this, what happens is you have two elements side by side to each other. Which is just like what you see here, right?
Uh-huh.
You have this element, and then you have this entire nav element. But for flex, it is only looking at this entire element. It's not. It doesn't care what's inside of it.
It just sees it as a group, so it's gonna treat them respectively.
Yeah. So for this flex class that you have, nav,
Mm.
it's being flex on two things, not on 8 things or whatever.
So we could just separate them technically, like do them in separate functions. Like if we took out the whole class and we just did like we hit H1 with display flex and then the UL or the nav with display flex, it should in theory do what we want it to do. Correct?
Yeah. H1 in display flex will do nothing because you have no children nodes here. Flex really applies only to like an element, a container with children inside of it. So in the H1, if you added display flex, it won't do much. But you are on the right track that you might have to add display flex to one of these items. Which one do you think it would have to be?
I would say to the UL.
To the UL. And why?
Uh, I mean that would cover the entirety of all of those, and I mean they're still treated as they should. Well, I think they're still treated as separate elements in a sense.
Okay, so let's do it. Just add something there and give it a class flex, or I'll let you do it. Nice. So you got all the things to line up, but now the Hacker News is above these guys. Yeah? Does that make sense to you? Why that happened?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Surprisingly.
yeah, you took the flex out of this element, right? So now these two children are not display flex anymore. So like, do you see how HTML is looking at this? You have H1 Hacker News, you have a UL that is display flex. That means that every item inside of it is going to be side by side. And then you have a button after that. And you see, like, it's stacking things on top of each other, just like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing it do its thing?
Yeah, it's definitely behaving like HTML.
Yeah, but like, are you getting what you're doing, right? Like, I'm trying to get you to see the bigger picture, but I think you are. I just, but yeah, okay. So how do you get it? to be Hacker News side by side to this list.
Okay, so game plan is to get everything horizontal,
Mm-hmm.
news included. So nav bar triangle with that sense didn't work. Hmm.
Well, think about what you did here, right? You took off nav and gave it to UL, right? So it was correct when you were targeting nav because you did want Hacker News next to the nav, right? And then you gave UL display flex, and that you wanted that, right? So if you go back to nav, right, and save, you have this, and you want this. And if you go back to UL and do this, you get this, and you want this, but you actually want both of them together. So how do you do that? You following me?
Yes and no. My theory for this one now. You know what? Give me 1 second to think on this one because I feel like I got something, but I want to think about what would potentially happen from it. So the main thing that I'm seeing could be. Oh, that's a different thing entirely. Hmm. Target nav.
Mm-hmm.
Did it that way.
So do that. Like target nav. Let's just try it. Let's just do one thing at a time. Okay. So okay. And now you also want to target the ULs, right?
Wait a minute. So okay. So I gotta ask now,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to derail the direction we're going at all, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just a question about it. So at this point in time, I seen that there were that you could target two things at once with CSS.
Yes.
So would that would also be a potential way to go about this as well if I knew what I was doing at first.
Yeah. You could totally do that. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, especially as like the second. Yeah, like first of all, I wouldn't recommend you targeting the ULs directly, and I wouldn't recommend you targeting both of them. Like, yeah, but you could. I'll let you know. Like, you can literally put a comma and put something else there, and
Oh, so
then and it'll do it. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
right with that actually.
Okay, so you're choosing the LI, but the LI doesn't have any children.
Oh, that's right. Ah,
You're good. You're good. You're good. Okay.
the only other option is the ULs then.
Uh huh.
That's the you have children's. Huh?
Okay.
Oh, uh, it's an H1.
Yeah, but don't worry. Don't worry about that yet. Like you're doing great progress over here. All right. But now you see this problem. Now the login is not there. So how would you put the login on the right place? Like so.
I know this is far fetched, but my curiosity now
Uh-huh.
it kind of wants an answer. Oh,
Okay. So what happened?
oh God! It just stressed everything.
But don't worry about the stretching. Think about the layout. Don't worry about the width or anything. Think about the
Oh,
layout.
the layout is still like the only difference now is that the locking button is with it in the sense where it was still horizontal with everything else, the list as well.
Uh huh.
So
So how do you get the list? Don't worry about the width or anything like that. Just focus on laying out the list. Let's see.
process correctly. Focus on one issue at a time.
Okay, just took it all back.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I would do that.
Uh-huh.
I guess so.
Uh-huh.
So it sees things up, downwards.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
works at a point. So it's gonna see H1 first. Then it's gonna see the nav or nav element.
Put these side by side. I mean, you already did it earlier. Remember how you did it?
That's a very good question. Do I remember how I did it? Oh. Wasn't it well?
Yeah. Okay. But now the login button is here. Get the login button on the other side, like you just had it earlier. No, you're right there. Like yeah. So,
Not anymore.
uh-huh. Okay. So you had the nav. Okay. And now also get the list there.
Activate the wiki. Right. Oh, UL.
UL, yes. Look at that. Cool. So it's not perfect yet, but look at that. You have it laid out. Okay, so we're gonna refactor some of this, and I'm gonna help you out a little bit refactoring, so that we can take a little bit less time. We're gonna go over this concept that's called block element modifiers. We're not gonna get into depth, but we're just gonna change it up a little bit. So we're gonna say, okay, so this is just like a way to organize CSS. Okay, that works. Sure, let's do it. But yeah, anyway, like it's totally fine to Google stuff. Like don't ever feel bad about like Googling how to do it. Okay. It's not quite right, but like it's fine, you know. I want you to do this part, you know. If you see it, like this thing is kind of aligned to the left, and then this thing is aligned to the right. They use tables, but we're not going to use tables.
Separation between them, or like just the logo that's to the left of the hacker name?
No. Think about the login button that's all the way to the right.
Oh, okay.
That's what I want to focus on right now. Okay? So now what we want is this button to go all the way to the right of this parent container. And I'm going to just do it right here. So let's see. Width 100%. So now this joins all the way to the top, and then justify content space between. Yeah, this is how you'd actually do it. Yeah, but it's gonna get a little bit tricky to like explain why this works.
I guess this just means I gotta do my homework on FlexBox more.
Yeah. Okay, so okay, this is where I want to be with you next week. I want you to finish this, and you're gonna have to finish the Google homework using FlexBot, and then I want you to like try to get this also relatively. Don't worry too much about like the smaller things, but maybe do add like these guys. No, actually, yeah. If like maybe you can add like this, maybe not to every one of them. Don't worry about putting in like the 30 of them, but add like the subheading here and like some stuff here. Let's see. Play around with this. Try to get it with the Hacker News. Don't worry about not getting it perfectly. Don't worry about like it being incomplete next time we talk. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what you should do. Try to do the Google first based on this example. the Google homepage,
Mm-hmm.
and then, and if you finish that, move over to try to get it closer to this, the Hacker News clone closer to this. Yeah, what I want to get with you is like to go to this page. I love this page. It's really good. And it just gives you good elements from different websites, you know? So like, for example, like you see stuff like this all the time, like keep in touch, or like a little, look at that. This is like a little call out about like a customer saying things. I want you to get like to start doing things like this, because like this is right, this is like what websites look like, you know what I'm saying? And I would like you to make a website, but that's not for next week. For next week, like let's worry about Google, let's worry about Hacker News, you know, these. But this is where I want to work towards. Like start making, you know, look at this, and then look at it in terms of containers. Like let me show you how I see this. You know, if we go here, okay. So what I'm seeing, and what you should be seeing when you're doing this, is I see a container here. I see another container here that was moved up, right? Like this second container is moved up so it overlaps, right? That's how they got that effect. Then, and I'm pretty sure this is an image, so I'm not going to worry about that. But then they have a heading here. Then they have another heading here, right? Like an item here with two containers, right? One here, one here. And this container has two elements, has a paragraph and a button. You know? And this is what I'm seeing when I'm looking at a website. And so it's like,
So you automatically break it down.
yeah, I mean, like, it's not that complicated. I know that this container, I would probably do like a flex container, you know, this one. But that's about the only one that I would use flex for in this thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In this particular. And know that this means that they use the transform and things like that. So that's good, you know? But you can totally do stuff like that. Like if you go to here, it's the same thing. You have a, right? So let's see. Whatever. So in here is the same thing. Like there's a container here with a margin top, right? The top margin here. Whatever. And then inside this container, they have an item here and a list of items here, right? So this container is flex, right? What do we color the red is going to be for flex. You know, and this container is flex. These are two different containers, right? And this flex container, this one, has a justify items between, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this one doesn't. This one is just a flex container, right? And then we have another container here, and like you just keep doing that. Like all of CSS. All that CSS is doing is like, like, and I didn't talk about margins. Sorry. Right, margins, padding. You know, but all this stuff is like pretty clear. Like I'm pretty sure this is a margin, or this is how I would tackle it, right? This margin. Then I have like whatever, like an H3. It's gonna come. Wait, no, actually. So I have this container, right? Hold on. So we were talking about this container here, and it has two items, this container and this thing. This one is flex. This one is just an H3 or whatever, and then 2 paragraphs, right? And then
Yeah, I
this.
think that's my thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Like for me, it's hard to like get a I don't know a good grasp on. I don't know. I think it's just like when it comes to designing my own site or like setting it up per site. Even though we know that HTML goes top to bottom, once it gets to the CSS aspect of making it look nice, like I'm just like lost in all of that and all of that freedom in a sense. Like when you have too many options and you don't know which option to take because there's so many options. Like in a sense, I feel like that's something that's why like I probably struggle the most with CSS. With like HTML, I'd probably be fine with like but I don't know. I think that's my how I could rationalize and explain it anyway. So I mean, if you know any like sites for CSS or like this site actually would help because it shows like a lot of different designs for sites per se.
Yeah, this is just design, and there's thousands of these sites that give you good designs, and then like where I want you to be at the end of the day is for you to like look at this and like, yeah, I mean, like if you go to something like whatever, like GitHub, um, you know, like, okay, this is like some top-notch design, like they got a globe, you can spin it, but like, and that's cool, right? And then they got this little dude right here, like that's cool, right? But it's the same thing. Like there's a container here, there's a container here that's flex, you know. This is one, this is the other. Inside of this container with a globe, there's a 3D mapping thing, and we're not gonna get to that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you
Everything's still broken down.
yeah, everything is still HTML and CSS at the end of the day, right? Like it's rendered on a browser. That means that there is HTML that Google Chrome, right, in this case Brave, is parsing, and CSS that it's using to style it, and then like some plain JavaScript that is using to do some animations. But um, in the end, it's just like it's just the same. It's all HTML, CSS, and JavaScript like that you're seeing every time that you open a web browser. So yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is that like what you need to get good at is like what you need to do is practice these things, um, practice them, and get the habit down of like breaking it down into problems and doing it over and over again. Once you do it 10 times, the 11th time is going to be way easier than the second time. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I
Yeah.
want you to do to get into the to finish the Google challenge, because that's a good one. Then do this Hacker News. That's another good one. And those, like, I think that's within your challenge. It's gonna be difficult. You're gonna have to Google things, and you're gonna have to break your head, and there's gonna be some things that don't quite make sense. But I want you to like try it, and then come to me if you were like, dude, listen, like I just couldn't figure this out. I hacked it this way, but this isn't right. Like, how do you actually do it? And then I can give you pointers.
Hmm. See, I gotta get out of that habit too of like feeling like I could just solve it or uh, get it done and then just sit on it until like the next coming time because I feel like that's probably something that I was subconsciously doing and I realized it like I'm sorry I'm gonna bug you a lot now because I want to get this down pat. I want to understand it as best as possible. So I will try it in as many formats and as many ways as I possibly can to get them down, like to get the understanding. But then I will bug you about like how you see it, so I can hopefully like get a different perspective and see a potentially better than my way, like well most likely better than my way solution of how to go about it, like just like how we did with the header and everything like that of how we got everything lined up. I wouldn't have considered that. I would just like kept googling and found something on Stack Overflow and probably said, that looks like it'll work. This guy seems like legit. Then probably used it.
I mean, and that's
So
fine too. Just like we ideally like oh sorry. Ideally we want to
no, good.
move past that point where you feel kind of like you're not okay, copying and pasting is totally cool. We totally do that all the time. Like it's fine. I work, for a 500 person web, like a web application development, right? Working on a big enterprise system. I Google stuff all the time. It's fine. But usually it's kind of like you've done it enough times that you're like, oh, that makes sense. So let me just copy that real quick and paste it. And like, yeah, I mean, you're copying someone else's code and that's fine, but you understand what's going on, right? You know about it. And so, like, so yeah, if you're not kind of having this mental model, what I'm telling you, that's why I'm drilling this, like, this this stuff, right? Like the drawing boxes over things and then trying to like break it down, like trying to compare how HTML naturally looks with how like FlexBox makes things look. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have that mental model, then like you don't know what to Google, you don't know what to ask. And if you do find the answer and you copy and paste it, you don't know what else it's doing, and you don't, or maybe it's like exactly what you need except for a tiny thing, but you can't. You're not like, yeah, it's what you need except for a tiny thing, but you don't know what that tiny thing is. So you're like, you could be right there and kind of circling around this thing, but it's like you just don't know what to copy. What to change in the thing that you copy or why it works. You know. So that's why I'm drilling these kinds of things with you, like this basic, like taking a moment when we lay out plain HTML on the page to really kind of break it down into like what is happening, at the base level and how we're changing that as we're going. So yeah, man, I think that that's enough theory for the day. Ethan, oh no, Crashers over here says good programmers know what to copy and why they need it. Yeah, that's a skill, right? Like what to copy. It's a big deal to know what it is that you're gonna and why that will solve your thing, or like, and or if it does solve your thing, like and you don't know how to do it, then it's like it's just not good. But like we're getting you to the point of like thinking about this, the bigger picture. And but it'll
Right.
take
Well,
it'll take doing it several times. That's why I'm leaving you these homeruns. Do you think you got enough to run on, and like to try to get these things done?
yeah, I can start tackling them like as soon as we're done.
And hit me up. Yeah, hit me up when you have questions. My DMs are open.
Trust me, It's gonna be a lot of questions.
Good, 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 good. I'm happy to help you, man.
I appreciate it, but thank you for everything so far, and I enjoyed this lovely session.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. This is great.
See you next week.
Awesome. See ya. Bye. Let's see. All right. He's hungry, so I think he'll do good. But yeah, it's work.